This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, November 17th, 2020, episode 305. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. Of course, you can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. I'm also on Parler, and you can now check out the video version of my political show, which is at atnshow.com. Video versions available on YouTube and BitChute each and every week. After a couple of weeks of seeming like a robot, looking like we were doing the show via DSL, he's back in high definition. Brian with an I, Aldridge. Hello, Mr. Brian.
Hey, I'm no longer the pixel version of me, so
that was awful.
Hopefully everybody can handle the HD version. Before
I get into that, I want to say thanks to our audience who put up with subpar audio and video for the last month. But we've rectified the issue, so we should be good going forward. But it was I listened to the last audio. I couldn't finish last week's show. 304 was the first show I had not listened to in its entirety post show. I was so pissed off and frustrated listening to it. I just stopped. I was like, I don't want to listen to it. I don't even care. So
well, now we don't have to worry about it ever again.
Well, I mean,
until the internet breaks again. But
until I have to switch back to AT&T because Spectrum doesn't work.
Yeah. So hey, if you want to find me, you can find me at Brian Aldridge on Parler. It seems where all the cool kids are going nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, we have our website. If you go to infectionpodcast.com, you'll see on the right-hand side there, join our server on Discord. If you do that, you can get a nice you can submit news channels to our news channel. You can submit topics. Maybe there's games that we're not covering you think that we should. Perhaps there's something popping up in the news that you think is relevant. Put it in the news channel. We review that every time before the live show. Also, we got our Steam group. If you join that, you get a nice little notification on your computer if you have Steam open, and it'll tell you that we're getting ready to start our live show. Because sometimes we don't do them on Tuesdays, we'll do them on Monday, or we'll do them Wednesday. And so if you happen to be there, you can go ahead and do that. Also, we have our video forums. Those are some of them streamed live, but also we have videos after the fact that you can watch, and that's on Twitch, YouTube, BitChute, and DLive. And then our podcast extras. So if you want to get the pre and post show recordings, those are done by Judd. And then all the audio forms at the lower right-hand side. And those are for web-based apps, mobile apps. They've got all kinds of different things, but those are all after the fact. So if you're trying to catch us live, you got to do that through one of the video forms. If you're going to be watching or listening afterwards, you can do that through either the video forms or the audio. And then the show notes for every single episode. What, 305 we're at now? It's getting ridiculous.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's ridiculous, but it's a lot of episodes.
Most people have sense enough to just stop by now, but not us. Keep going.
Well, and as the holiday seasons are coming up, we do have some ways that you can help support the program. You can find those over at infectionpodcast.com/support. There are links to Humble Bundle, Amazon, direct PayPal contributions, or like you saw but probably didn't hear during the pre-show or during the intro, was Green Man Cartoons hitting us up. He is the sub king leading us here with I don't know how many subs exactly in a row it is, but his message is "Suck it, turkeys." I presume that is in reference to the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday that is taking place, where many a turkeys will be.
Or maybe he's challenging you to a turkey battle in Ark or something. Who knows?
I mean, that's possible. Are they going to pardon the turkey this year, or is they going to cancel that because of COVID? Because that's always my favorite part, is watching the most powerful person in the world, like, afraid to touch a turkey.
Yeah.
Like this stupid
animal. I don't know. Turkeys can be, I mean, I'm sure that those turkeys are they've worked with them and got them used to humans.
Yeah, but like,
they don't just freak out.
It's just interesting to see, like, the most important, arguably the most important person in the world for a lot of people, like, being skittish around a turkey. I wonder if they'll do that. They'll probably cancel it because, not allowed to have any fun. Yeah.
No.
So we're back. in full form. Thank God, Brian, just in time. Of course, Call of Duty dropped Thursday or Friday of last week.
Yep.
The 13th. What was that? That was Friday? Yeah, it was Friday. I was out of town all weekend, but got back in enough time on Sunday to jump in on Double XP and have been playing the past couple days Call of Duty Cold War.
Yep.
I've only played multiplayer thus far. I'm playing on PC.
I played through a little bit of the story mode.
I heard it's really good.
Yeah, so far it's good. Very natural. Doesn't feel like it's 100% scripted.
Good time
and
period.
it's taken through a nice story. Yeah. And it's different than most. So, I mean, you're dealing with CIA and just kind of some of the drug stuff that they did back in the 80s. And so you're getting a nice mix of different environments that you haven't seen up to this point. And it's a little bit different. You know, usually everybody does World War II or they do Vietnam or they do something modern that has stuff that you don't really have. This they've done a good job of kind of pulling in the whole feeling of. Have you ever watched the shows on Netflix that are like the cartel shows where it goes through the like Mexico and then South America? And very good series. And in that it has that kind of a feeling because those go through the true story of how we pretty much took down a lot of the cartels down there. I'm only partway through the story, but it's kind of hinting around that. Of course, it's a made up story, but it's pulling a lot of those aspects. So I've enjoyed it so far. And then I did some of the multiplayer, which feels like Call of Duty. I haven't had any major issues or anything yet, so seems good. Now I am playing on the Xbox though.
Did you get a new Xbox?
No, not the new Xbox.
Oh.
I'm just playing, but I've been purchasing them on the Xbox because I've been getting the versions that work with the new Xboxes and the previous, so that my license carries over rather than just continuing to buy on PlayStation. Since I think I'm going to get an Xbox in the new one.
Okay,
once they're available.
Yeah, so I've been playing it on the PC. Now, I don't know why I don't know why I feel the need to clarify this, but I will anyway. Yes, this is Call of Duty. Yes, it feels like other Call of Duties. Yes, it plays like other Call of Duties. Yes, it acts like other Call of Duties. It's another Call of Duty. They release them every 12 months. I will say on this one, it feels very similar to the last one. And people say, oh, that's not good. No, that's a very good thing. Since Black Ops 3, Call of Duty has taken in my opinion, a very poor approach to games. And really probably since Black Ops 2, they've all sucked. And the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which came out last year, was really good. It had the first multiplayer that I have played consistently since probably Black Ops 2, which was 2015 or 16, maybe 17, something like that. It's been a couple years, maybe 5 years. And this one's got that same feel. It's boots on the ground. It's realistic kill streaks. It's regular rolling grenades and stuns and all that stuff, trophy systems, very reminiscent of regular Call of Duty, which is what I really like. I was not looking for or expecting anything earth-shattering. If you're expecting that, I don't know why you'd be looking at the Call of Duty franchise. Again, they release a game every year, and they don't totally shake it up. Apparently, though, the big thing that I haven't jumped into yet, apparently the zombies mode, which came to stardom back in Call of Duty World at War, is where it first got its big push, that with the whole Nazi zombies kick. Apparently, this version of zombies is very reminiscent of those older versions as well. They've gotten rid of a lot of the extra bullshit that they threw in there. For people that don't know, the old Call of Duty Zombies, which you've probably never even played, Brian, very simple. You just run around.
Yeah, I only played World War II.
Zombies chase you around, you get guns, you level up, you get knocked down, the zombies knock you down, your teammates got to come pick you up. All that was fine. That was the older World at War versions of Nazi zombies. They've since transitioned in some of the later games into more complex ones where there's lots of puzzles and just a lot of extra things that you have to do. For some people, maybe that tickles their fancy. For a lot of people like myself, You just want to run around and kill zombies. It's very much a repetitive cycle.
That's what World War II was. Where
exactly.
You had to do all these different things to unlock new sections and all these puzzles to be able to keep going.
Just a huge pain in the ass. And it's like you have to devote all this time to learning all this stuff. It sucks. Apparently, and I don't know this to be the case because I haven't played it, but from what I've read and heard on some different YouTube videos and podcasts, it does have a lot of those old school zombies mechanics where it's just a lot of running around and just training zombies and killing them slowly. Which is what made zombies a lot of fun. Yeah, so I haven't tried it out yet.
See what I think of it. Since I've only done the version that people are saying is not good, I'll
they suck.
If I just feel like this one's a lot better.
Yeah, the new ones have just absolutely been terrible. So I got it on sale on GMG Green Man Gaming for, I don't know how they did this. It was $53 or $52 before tax, which I don't know. I mean, the MSRP is $60. So, and they can't be eating $6 or $7 on the sale. So I'm not sure how they're selling the game. I'm pretty sure it's still on sale.
I don't know.
I don't know how they're selling it for that price though, because the games like this don't go on sale. It's $54 right now. It's 10% off. So if you're gonna buy it on PC, buy it on Green Man Gaming. You'll save after tax a couple bucks at least. So get it on Green Man Gaming if you're interested in it. You get it for like $54. I've really enjoyed playing it so far. Played the multiplayer last night. I think I'm up to level 20 or something like that. Having a good time playing with some of my Call of Duty bros. Haven't tried Warzone yet. I did get a message from our friend USAF Zombie who said that Warzone is so unplayable now. I'm not sure exactly what that means yet, as I haven't had a chance to jump into it, but apparently there's some issues with Warzone. So that's where we stand on the Call of Duty. It's always an exciting thing when a new COD comes out. I'm, as I've talked about many times, a huge COD fanboy. Have been for, I mean, as long as I've playing video games, it's been Call of Duty's been on that rotation. So new one is out. It's got great reviews all over the place. And Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. It is available on all game systems and Green Man Gaming for $54. So why did you buy it?
Very
I'm
good.
Curious.
Why?
Yeah, you're not much. You played World War II because we shamed you into buying it. Realistically,
yeah, and I played that quite a bit.
this?
I just figured because I would play with you guys at some point, and
Okay,
I wanted to get some titles that I knew would probably initially, early on, take on some of the actual new console graphics and things like that. I wanted to get something that was going to actually be next gen, so I picked up the Valhalla, new Valhalla game. I got this one, and then I just been looking at ones that are doing that include the purchase for the new version, so that when I do get the Xbox, I actually have some games that are made for it that aren't all just lower resolution versions of the old ones. So
Yeah,
building up my library.
Speaking of that, it's probably a pretty good transition into a set of images, Brian, that were put together. This is using Watchdog Legion, which is one of the which is a new Watch Dogs game, but it is also a game that is available on both current, new gen, and it's got some of the, old gen, current gen, and it's got some of the different capabilities like ray tracing, the RTX stuff, and it's going to be a little hard to show here on screen, so maybe I'll zoom in on each little section while we talk about it. Here is, this is, and again, I stared at this for a little bit before the show, and it wasn't very noticeable in these scenes right away. Now, obviously, the big thing you'll note is the shadows. That's typically where developers can save performances on lighting and shadows and ambient things like that. It's not super noticeable in this. And again, this is all the Xbox Series X. So this is Xbox Series X, which is the new one. The game running on PC Ultra 4K and the Xbox Series X settings on PC. So that's what we're looking at there. And you can see those all look relatively relatively similar on that. Here is a night scene here. Same thing. This is the Xbox Series X on the left. On the right, it's the it's a PC running native 4K with an RTX 2060 Super. And even with this, Brian, again, can you find details that are not as crisp? Sure. But I'll tell you what, night scenes especially, which can be super hard to render because of the low light, it looks pretty damn comparable. So take that for what it's
not
worth.
a night and day difference between the two.
Down here, there's some printouts of different resolution things like that, and then here is here's just some different frame renders and frame times and things like that aren't super relevant. But in a couple of things that I've watched, I watched a Linus Tech Tips video on the difference between the two variants of the Xbox, and the difference wasn't huge. And essentially the way that they ended their video was, if you're really not going to play any games with discs, if you have no interest in the pre-owned market, if you have no interest in anything like that, you're probably better off getting the $299 one. Now, obviously, if you want top tier performance, get the Series X. It's, spend $500, get the full version. But I think the synopsis of that video was, for most people, the $299 version of the console, the
Series S or whatever they're calling
it, the XS or whatever the hell it's called, is more than sufficient for a lot of things. Again, as long as you're not.
So there's the Series X and then the Series S, right? Because those are the Series S is the lower, the $299 one, right?
Yes.
Is that what we said? $299.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then the Series X is the big box one. That's
gotcha.
That people are calling the little fridge or whatever.
So that seemed to be the synopsis of that. And especially the point was made that if you're just going to be streaming your games on Game Pass anyway, it makes even more sense to buy, or if you're going to be playing Game Pass anyway, it makes even more sense to get the $299 version. There were some differences, and the one thing to note is, this early in the generation, they're all going to look similar. But that's
my concern.
As it matures, like we've seen with the Xbox One and PS4, as it matures and as developers learn, adapt, and do whatever, there will be a larger gap that forms over time. So that's kind of the thing. Like, where do you?
Well, and one thing they're bringing up in chat
is it worth the $500?
4K.
But is it worth? My question is it worth $300 more now, or do you buy the Series S, play it for 2 years, and then if you want the 4K, you want the upgrade,
the price drops happens.
But there's going to be a new one, right? They always release at least 2 further editions of the console later on. So maybe you start off with the S if you're not interested in physical games, and then in 2 or 3 years, if you want the upgrade, you get the equivalent to the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X. There will be revisions of it. So I'm not interested at all in either of these consoles. None of the games at this point are appealing to me. We talked a little bit about that last week. They're just not appealing to me. Call of Duty is the only. Cyberpunk I'm going to play on PC. I'm still trying to get my hands on a 3000 series card. I don't think I'm going to be able to do that till the first of the year anyway. So I'm not beating down the doors to get a next generation console. You sound like you're a little bit more apt to buying. Why haven't you bought yet? Is it an availability issue?
Yeah, I'm just not going to go crazy trying to dig one out somewhere, because they're not available in any of the stores. They're not available online in any of the places, and I'm not in that much of a hurry to have one today. So once they start becoming generally available, and maybe even a special deal, I can imagine they'll instantly sell it on Black Friday if any are available. But at least put one in for there. and probably just get one in December or whenever I keep hearing supposedly they're not going to be restocked for months, but we'll see if that actually changes.
I saw a video yesterday. I didn't watch it. It was on my sub feed or something like that. And it was like major issues with, stock of these systems, which we knew was going to happen. They're already hard to come by. And then you add a global pandemic that has completely changed supply chain and manufacturing and all that stuff. It was only inevitable that this happened. And I guess it's kind of fortunate though, isn't it? Because it's not like there's a brand new hot game. Like, the demand is high.
This is the time to do it. There's nothing that I'm sitting there being like, oh, I want to play this game, so I need. I take this. If Cyberpunk was out, and I saw a video that showed Cyberpunk looking that much better on it, I would want my first Cyberpunk playthrough to be done, just like I did on Red Dead Redemption. I played it on the better PlayStation on my 4K TV with HDR and all the settings on high, right? Because I wanted to experience it in that way. If I saw that Cyberpunk was just beautiful in 4K and was using full ray tracing and everything else, I would probably buy the console and then play Cyberpunk on it. But Cyberpunk's not, and I don't know how Cyberpunk's going to look on one versus the other. They could at this moment in time could almost be identical looking. We don't know. So I'm not in that much of a rush until I see a game that just looks beautiful on it, and then I'll be like, okay, I'm going to play that game because that's exactly what I did with the PlayStation. And I wanted to wait for a game that actually looked different, and maybe performance mattered a little bit, and that was it.
It is. I would say the only fortunate thing is that there isn't a major game for this launch. Imagine if there was a Halo or an Uncharted or a God of War, or some major exclusive title. The stock already is non-existent with really no game. We talked last week, the CNET article, the third game that they listed as a next generation game was Fortnite. So there's just literally nothing to play on these systems.
Which that they're not going to make the settings on that ridiculous. And if anything, it's all going to be in sliders. But
imagine if there was. Imagine if there was the new hot game. What if there was a new Grand Theft Auto would be a great example that wasn't available on PC like GTA 5. Imagine if one of those was coming out right now. It would be 1,000 times worse than it was, or than it is.
And I think that's the issue. Is there's just not because of COVID. I would assume. I mean, we've had so many delays. I think they were timing. They were coming into this year thinking all the normal things of timing. Okay, we're going to have Cyberpunk out, right before console comes out. It's going to boost sales of both. Everything's going to be perfect, and then everything started being delayed, and now we're here. So I think that is the issue. Is because everything's so delayed, we just don't. The console's delayed for us, even though it's out. It's not like it's really out. None of the normal titles and all the normal fanfare that comes along with a console release is here. So it's like it's kind of fake.
Yeah. The image, again, it doesn't really do justice. There's a link to it in the show notes, infectionpodcast.com, where you can really dig into it. I don't know if you did, Brian. I turned all my lights off and kind of stared at it for a couple minutes, and I was like, I
just couldn't see it visibly. There wasn't just enough of a difference to really. Yeah. And we'll see if that changes. I mean, they're comparing titles that have probably barely been tweaked at this point. Once you start a year into it, 2 years into this console release, I think you'll start seeing games that look good on it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's not really next gen console, but a longtime viewer and a friend of our the show, Brian, our friend Mal Taurus, or as I like to call Maltros, put a message in our Discord today about Stadia. And people do this from time to time because we do ask genuinely, if you have experience with something that we've mentioned on this show, Brian and I have been very upfront about it. We don't play most of the games we talk about. There's not enough time in the day. This is not our full-time jobs. A lot of the stuff we get is from articles and from watching things and hearing from, especially from people in our community that we can actually validate. He put a little thing in here about Stadia today, and I'm going to just go ahead and read through it here, Brian. It says, I see why they are giving Stadia away. It's so bad. I mean, it works fine. It doesn't have horrible input lag. It's arguably better than PlayStation Now, which is their streaming service, but the controller is horrible and small, the interface is counterintuitive, and the games are expensive. The Pro or subscription base, which I have a trial of, which was included with a free device, has like 11 games in all, which I've all gotten for free on Epic or Steam at this point, or look terrible and unfun. A lot of this stuff has been out for a year. I hate the effing jarring disconnect of having to use my phone, and this is a key thing with this, using my phone to select a game or claim a game or do something in the interface or log in. Chromecast is the worst interface I've ever seen. Google has never been good at self-integration. It seems like now they are trying to resolve that and make an experience simple by limiting the user's experience. Can't change the dead zone, sensitivity options, etc. This is what I'd expect if Twitter were making a gaming platform. It's nauseating. I wouldn't have touched it if it weren't free, and it turns out it wasn't. It costs me time, hours trying to figure out how to possibly enjoy this god-awful product. This is a solution for nobody.
Yeah.
So,
and this
couple
is
things
something odd.
Yeah, go
this
ahead.
is something odd about what what Google's been doing. I mean, for instance, when I pitched them the original Chromecast concept, they took it and did this weird thing where you had to stream from your phone, and that wasn't the intent. People didn't want that. People wanted the device handling it. I mean, if you look at the Fire TV, that's the big difference. And I think they've started going away from that. But for some reason, Google just doesn't want it to be easy. They keep putting all these stupid things because they think, oh, well, we can use this device and do. No. People don't want to have to use multiple devices to be able to stream something to your TV. If the thing connected in your TV can do it, do it. If it can't, it just doesn't make any sense. And it's something like this. Why would you make them use their phone for anything?
Exactly.
Right?
Now
You've got a device connected.
Now hold on.
You could add that option, but it shouldn't be required.
That's the key. And I would agree. It actually, and I've done this in the past, when the Xbox One first came out, you used to be able to install the companion app. And when you were redeeming codes or doing things that required typing out, it was a whole hell of a lot easier. But it wasn't the main way to do it. And I agree with you completely. You have a physical box in your house, the little cube thing. You have the controller. Why do you have to use the phone? And obviously they're trying to keep some sort of ecosystem, but as you can hear from this, and again, it's one person's opinion, but I've known Mal Taurus now for quite some time. I've played a whole bunch of different games with him, and seems like a pretty reasonable individual when it comes to this stuff. There's those people, Brian, that bitch and complain about everything. Nothing's good and everything always sucks. That's not him.
Yeah.
So the fact that this is so frustrating to him means for most people it's frustrating. And this is not a one-off review. Again, we've talked about this extensively on this show. There has been jack shit in terms of coverage about Stadia since it's come out. It's been out for a year, over a year, and we've heard literally nothing about it. I don't know I don't even know anybody that uses it. This is the first report I've heard from somebody I actually know that's even used this service.
Yep. Yeah. And this is going to be a problem for them because there's nothing, the way that they've done this is more for the lowest common denominator, someone who can't afford a console, someone who can't afford a computer. It gives them an opportunity to game. But the thing is, they have to have really good internet. If a person can't afford a console and they can't afford a computer, are they going to have really good internet? That's my concern with this product. I just don't think they've thought everything through. Rather than selling it to the most common denominator, they should be trying to sell it as a service that offers more than what a console can do. Because that's what they were supposedly promising, was all this cool stuff like being able to have more complex AI, be able to have more happening on the back end, because you could have local things happening right on the servers where it's handling the AI and all the interactions. Plus, it would cut out the chance of hacking and cheating because you don't have access enough to be able to do that. That's what they should be selling this as. and they're not. They're selling it as a low cost device to be able to get games to, to anything. And I don't think that that's where they're going to sell these, because when a console is $299, people, even if they're on food stamps, will manage to get a console at $299. They don't need the Stadia. Maybe in foreign countries, but are they going to have internet that's capable of it? They're not thinking it through.
Well, from a technology side, I think all of that is relevant. But the one thing and I would make the argument probably the biggest issue here, Brian, is in the middle of his statement here, where he says the games are expensive, and out of the 11 or so games that are included free with the device, they've already been free or so deeply discounted on Epic and Steam that I already own them. So that just builds into your point even more, that for like moderate to heavy gamers, they probably, or like with Destiny 2. If you want Destiny 2, it's already been available for free for years on a whole bunch of different platforms. Why would you get Stadia to play Destiny 2? It just doesn't
and they should
make
be doing
any
some
sense.
sort of a subscription service like the Game Pass. That makes more sense. Where you have a huge library of games, and you can, but there's it seems like they're wanting you to pay for so many. And there's another example recently of Google shutting down services. Google was offering free storage on photos if you allowed them to lower the quality size of an image. Now they're reversing that and they're taking that away. So that, just another example. Anything Google does, even highly successful products, they will reverse course on, and they'll change what they said. And I just don't trust Google in that. I don't trust Google enough to buy a digital version of something that I want to own forever. I don't trust Google to hold that, because I have a feeling that eventually Stadia will just shut down like everything else, of Google's side projects has.
I mean, again, so the system,
then what are you going to do with those games?
The service has been out a year. Scrolling through this, Uno is on here. Watchdog Legions, that's new. Windbound, Tomb Raider, Division 2. I'm just reading off the big ones that are on here. The Crew 2. None of these are big games. Sniper Elite is another Tomb Raider. A couple Serious Sam games. Red Dead, Rage 2. Battlegrounds, which again is literally available on freaking Arduino. You can play Battlegrounds, PGA Tour, NBA, Metro games, Just Dance, a couple Hitman games, Hotline Miami, Final Fantasy, Farming Simulator, a couple Doom games, Dead by Daylight, Borderlands 3. The service has been out for a year, and by the way, these games are not free. You have to buy them.
Yep, that's a huge issue. I'm not going to buy anything from Microsoft. I know with Xbox, I know with PlayStation, even in the new version, if they have a version for it, it'll be on my account. I don't trust Google. I don't think Stadia is going to be around in 5 years.
And if you look at their coming soon,
I don't think it'll be talked about.
But you look at their coming soon, Ark Survival Evolved, which, I mean, I don't know how. First of all, that game sucks with controllers anyway. So, okay, let me reiterate. It doesn't suck. It's a much more handicapped version of the game. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is already out on other systems. Yep. Cyberpunk 2077, which is not out yet. The next generation of FIFA, Madden, and NBA. That's it. Pac-Man Mega Tunnel Battle, Outriders, Outcasters, Monster Jam Steel Titans, Windjammers 2, Young Souls, Hello Engineering. I mean, this is their coming soon. There's not even anything good coming. You've got like 3 games, and 2 of them, Ark's been out since freaking 2016. I mean, it's not a new game. So, Stadia is a freaking disaster. We already knew that. And to have it kind of laid out the way that our friend Malt did it is rather interesting. And I agree with you completely, Brian. There is 0 chance Stadia is around long term. There's no user base. There's no player base. developers have to make their own version of, they have to make a specific version of the game to run on Stadia, because it is not a Windows VM that you're playing. It is proprietary. It's a whole hell of a lot of work for developers. And frankly, there's no user base. So why is a developer, for example, Arc, I don't know why they're wasting their time on this. Go make another early access game on PC. There's nobody playing Stadia. Nobody is going to play Arc on Stadia. I can guarantee it.
Yeah, and I don't know. Eventually, if the numbers are low, because right now you have enough developers that are putting it out there, seeing if people purchase them. But if the numbers are so low to where Ubisoft says it's not worth us putting in the time to even develop the game and prepare it for Stadia, they're going to start losing all those. If it's too much to maintain it or too much of a bother, they'll pull out, and then you'll see whole studios starting to pull out of this thing. And then what are they going to do? They'll be in a very tough situation when they can't offer any Ubisoft games, or, you know, you name it, whoever decides to pull out. Yeah. It's going to really limit the library. Then you're going to be stuck with what kind of like with those like Humble Bundle extras, you know, where it had those extra games you could play, you know, that were added on. It's going to end up being a bunch of those, and which is maybe what they should have gone for in the first place, right?
More of an arcade.
Maybe they should have gone. Yeah, they should have gone for a device that was more arcadey, that had a bunch of the free games and a bunch of the gimmicky games. You get it for your kid, you hook it up, you let them play. You don't have to buy them anything. You could pay a $10 a month subscription for a bunch of stupid games that your kids will play, and say, "There's your console, play it."
Well, it could be like an arcade.
Would have been, I think,
it's like a modern day MAME system.
Yeah, I think that would have been a much better opportunity for them to sell this. They're not going to compete with the major consoles, and they're not going to put out hardware fast enough to be able to do it.
Agreed. So that is the latest on Stadia. If you have a differing opinion or of Stadia, of something else, a game, a product, a service, please throw a message in our Discord, or PM it to Brian or myself or both of us, and love to talk about it on the show. It's always great to hear from people that we actually interact with and can kind of weed out the BS. So thanks, Malt. Yeah. Appreciate it. And keep the reports coming. If anybody's got anything, please let us know.
Okay. Very good. All right. Do you have a preference on where you want to go from here?
No, sir. What's all
right. Let's talk a little bit about WoW. We talk about WoW every once in a while, but something's happening within the next week. I figure we better talk about it this week, because Monday, the new expansion is releasing. There's a video here if you want to play the cinematic. This is their, I think, official launch cinematic for the upcoming Shadowlands.
Sorry, I didn't realize there was a video.
Do we have it?
Yeah.
Beyond the veil lies the Shadowlands, where every soul has its place.
the veil lies darkness, where every soul has its place.
Brian, how excited are you for Shadowlands? Do you feel like a child? Do you literally feel like a kid again?
I mean, I'm more excited than I have been for most of the for years, many years, just because this one, they're kind of they redid a lot of things. Usually you'll have, usually you'll get something like a little bit different of the way crafting works. They'll just like redo a section, or they'll redo the weapons. Like you won't pick up weapons. They'll assign you a weapon at the beginning, and then the whole expansion, you're sitting there and leveling that weapon up. I'm sure they'll have some gimmicky things like that, but this one they've changed the whole structure of it. I think they're changing it to be able to continue WoW, because there was so many expansions on top of expansions on top of expansions that it was creating a really weird issue to where anybody new coming into the game just never saw anything. Like you were just barely touching expansions here and there. And they're kind of making it to where I think you have a new experience. You can use expansions, but I think they're setting it up to where if they want to, they can kind of redo it and create a whole new level up experience, which they've done for the first 10 levels. But I think that's kind of the goal, and lowering the levels so that you actually have somewhere to go and they quit going to level 170, 180, 190. But as far as the content, we'll see. I mean, I want the raids to be more like they used to be. Whether they can pull that off without requiring me to be on 5 hours a day, that's the thing. I've changed. We've talked about that plenty. I don't want to do that anymore. I wish I could get that old feeling. I don't know that you can. And that I've talked about that before as well. I don't know that I can get the old feeling without putting in that time, but I just don't have it. So if they can create something that's a little bit closer to the original, or at least create a channel of that, if you want to go and really put some time in, then I think that'll be good. But I hear a lot of old players are coming back. So hopefully it's something that has become less arcadey, which WoW definitely did become much more arcadey. Hopefully they get it to where it's actually a little bit of a grind and you feel like you're accomplishing something. Because when it's so easy that you don't feel like you're accomplishing anything, that's the frustration. So we'll see. I'm going to put some time into it. My girlfriend, I got a computer set up for her. She'll try it too. And that'll be nice, because for her, it'll be kind of a first time experience of having new content. And that's always really fun, because it's harder when everyone else around you is max level and you're seeing all these things. It's very different when you're unlocking it and seeing things for the first time and nobody else knows about them yet. So that's the part I'm looking forward to.
Has WoW always been on Battle.net? Did Battle.net start for WoW, or was it its own thing and then it became Battle.net?
I mean, it's been like that for quite some time. Yeah. I think it has. Okay. And even
because I know your username is like your old WoW username.
Yeah, and it's so I don't remember there being a point. It's always been that launcher. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not been since 2005.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah, he says it became a requirement later, but I don't remember at what point they merged that. I mean, there was like a little screen that came out. Yeah, I didn't play before 2000. Like before 2005, I didn't play. So what it was like in vanilla, I'm not sure. I started right after vanilla is when I started, like within weeks after vanilla.
Interesting. All right. So that's WoW. You mentioned, you name dropped them a little bit earlier, Brian. That is everybody's favorite, Ubisoft. There was a report over the weekend, that came out on Friday, and pictures were released of a bunch of employees at the Montreal headquarters for Ubisoft standing on the roof in an apparent hostage situation. Now, last week on this program, we talked about how death threats to developers aren't real and they're making them up. And then, of course, this news came out like 4 days later. And I was like, well, damn, I'm a jackass. But then the news quickly shifted, because originally it was they were being held hostage on the roof of their building. And there's, of course, there's helicopters flying around. You can just see all these people standing there. And then later turned into what appears to be now a fake, a large-scale swatting situation. Somebody called in a fake threat to that building. And that is...
Now, why did they go up to the roof when there's a bomb threat? Do you normally go to the roof? I just didn't think that would be.
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what the idea was of going to the roof anyway. But yeah, so there was a report. The original report was that people were being held hostage. That was not the case. There has been no threat that has ever been identified. The building was clear. So I just thought it was kind of ironic, I guess would be the word to use, that we literally talked about last week, how there's really no threat, and then the report was that somebody was holding Ubisoft employees hostage, which isn't funny, but it was very funny that we had just talked about it. But it turns out to be nothing but a fake swatting situation, which I'm not taking anything away from. But swatting is super serious. Don't take this the wrong way, but it's not like somebody showed up there with a gun, right? That's crazy. Somebody being an asshole online and calling in a fake threat is bad and terrible, but it's the internet, and things like that happen to people all the time, right? Swatting is not an unheard of act. It happens to live streamers. It happens to it's people have been literally murdered because of it. It's a relatively common thing. So, fortunately,
and there was I think within the last 6 months there was one that happened. If you remember, or it was in the last 3 months where somebody swatted somebody, and the police officer shot him.
Yeah. Yes, and PHS swatting is bad, absolutely. But fortunately, in this case, nobody was hurt. And nobody was being held hostage at Ubisoft. So that was good to see. But that is not all of the Ubisoft news that we've got for today. And there is a report out of The Guardian that there are now 3 more executives, high ups at Ubisoft that have they weren't fired, but they resigned over sexual harassment investigations. And I think that's an important word to use here, investigations. None of these 3 individuals, as of now, have been charged legally with anything, right? Like, sexual harassment is illegal, right? You could file a police report for sexual harassment. You know, it's a crime. None of those individuals have done that. They were all under internal investigation by Ubisoft HR, and they've all resigned. One of them being the chief creative officer, also the second in command. He has resigned. A director in the human resources department has resigned, and the managing director of the Canadian branch of Ubisoft as well. They all resigned on Saturday following allegations. I presume a lot more is going to come out, Brian. But in this era of wokeness and social justice-ness, it's got to be a tough situation to be. Now, obviously, there's a chance that all 3 of these guys were sexually harassing employees, and if that's the case, then they got what they deserved. But we have seen lots of false allegations made against people, and I hope that is not the case with Ubisoft. But we do know that this, I hate to say this, but this industry is a cesspool for this kind of outrage. I mean, again, you had people at Spotify threatening to boycott and strike, which, by the way, you can't strike if you're not unionized. It's called no-showing. You get fired for it. You have employees at Spotify threatening to strike over Joe Rogan speaking with Alex Jones. It's just this industry is a train wreck with this stuff. And I really hope these people resign for what they were accused of doing. Right? I'm not glad. Yeah. I'm not happy that they did it, but I hope that they didn't resign because there was no way to prove that it didn't happen, and it was just easier to resign and let the mob win. I hope that wasn't the case, but we have seen a lot of this mob rule in this industry, and I hope that's not the case with this. And that these guys, in fact, they're, doing what they're claimed to have done here, which is sexually harassing employees and creating a toxic atmosphere. I hope that that's the case, and if that's the case, they resigned, and they should have resigned.
Yep.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure I believe it, and maybe that makes me a conspiracy theorist or a tinfoil hat person. But Brian, I follow these people on Twitter. I see what they post online. A lot of these people are deranged and deluged. I mean, people crying at work over a Joe Rogan episode. I mean, you're insane if you're doing that. I just want to say you are mentally unstable and insane if you are crying at your job.
As you mentioned,
because of a Joe Rogan Alex Jones episode where Alex Jones drinks whiskey and gets drunk.
Yeah.
If you're crying at your desk, you need help.
Yeah, and that's kind of the downside of all this is the companies, rather than putting their employees in place in a lot of those situations of, hey, this is one of our clients. This makes money for us. You don't have to agree with 100%. They're not breaking our terms of service. You don't have to agree with them politically. It seems like now, magically, for someone to work somewhere, you have to agree 100% politically with them. And I just don't get that. That doesn't make sense. I've seen plenty of cases. I mean, there's cases right now where an actress is on TV and she supports gun rights. And so now they're demanding that she be taken off of The Mandalorian. It's like, oh my goodness, she supports people having the right to own a gun. And so now she should be fired from her job for agreeing with a totally legal thing that's in the Constitution. They're trying to get her fired for believing and actually agreeing with the Constitution, which is the stupidest thing. That just shows you at what point they have gotten there. I'm saying that the fact that companies are listening to these people is what is stupid to me. Now, if this is a case where they were actually sexually harassing, then good. I'm glad they're gone. Yeah. But you want to know what all of these fake and stupid people with crying outrage for no real reason does? It makes it difficult to believe the people that actually are being treated this way. Then those people should be ashamed for themselves. They should be ashamed that they are demeaning the actual threats to real people with their fake threats that are in between their ears, because that's the only place that threat exists. The people are they've gone insane. And want to know what? It's too long of people not being ever told no. Because sometimes in life you're told no and you got to deal with it. Buck up. But you got all these kids that just haven't had anything have taken from them. They haven't been told no. That you can be whatever you want to be. We'll give you a safe space over here where you can sit here and chill out and be away from anything that might be slightly controversial. Well, enough of that. They get out in the real world and then they start pulling the same crap. And now we somehow have companies in certain places, incredibly liberal places, that'll be like, oh, we're sorry. We're going to fire somebody for even though they were doing something totally legal. Well, how are we supposed to differentiate between that kind of a firing and a legitimate one? Start firing people for legitimate reasons and quit firing for people for things that are purely political or purely opinionated, because you should have no right to fire someone over those reasons.
Well, and at least in the United States, it's illegal if you can prove it. But yeah, I think you summarized that pretty well, Brian. It does. I read this article and I instantly cast doubt because we've seen similar, unverified, false BS claims in the same industry. And then when the president of Ubisoft comes out and says Ubisoft has fallen short in its obligation to guarantee a safe and inclusive workplace environment. Safe, I agree with. I don't know what the hell an inclusive workplace environment means. That to me is gaslighting.
Is it inclusive when you're not allowed to say your own opinion? Is it inclusive for the other person who you would disagree with, whether it's gun rights or whatever it is? If it's something that's a legitimate thing that's not harming anyone else, for me to say, if I were saying something like, I don't like someone for the color of their skin, or I don't, that's one thing, right? Just keep at that point, if you have opinions like that, keep them to yourself. But if it's something that's saying, you know what, I believe that gun rights, I believe that someone should be able to own a gun, or I believe I'm pro-life, I don't agree with abortion. That's not something that if you say I don't agree with abortion, they jump on you that you are oppressing women, that you hate women, that you're taking away women's choice. But there's an equally counter argument to that of, I agree that the baby should have a choice, right? That's a legitimate. I think the baby is a living human, living being. You get more trouble for killing a dog than a human, but if I mention that, you could get fired. That makes no sense to me.
So that's why, again, I have a lot of doubt cast on this. Safe work environment, completely agree. And Ubisoft and every other company should guarantee a safe work environment. An inclusive work environment where there is toxic behavior, which again, I don't know what the hell that means. Is toxic behavior, damn it, Brian, I need this done by 5:00. You said you were going to get this done. You need to get it done. Is that toxic behavior? Is that toxic atmosphere? I don't know. It's your freaking job and you're supposed to do it. So I don't hope anybody got sexually harassed, but what I do hope is that these 3 individuals that were forced to resigned because of what they were accused of actually doing, and they weren't forced out the door by wokeness and SJW PC culture that is rampant through the video game industry, rampant through the technology industry, and festers in these super crazy progressive companies like Ubisoft, which is in Quebec. So take that for what it's worth. 3 very high up people at Ubisoft, again, Chief Creative Officer, who's also the company's second in command, the Director of Human Resources, and the Managing Director of the Canadian branch, all resigned this past week over sexual harassment investigations that have and were taking place at Ubisoft. So crazy times over there. Lots of things being overturned and upended, and who knows what's going to happen with all that.
And Judd had actually posted something in here, and this is totally unrelated, but this is their tech showcase that they did in 2018, showing off the Snowdrop engine, and that's the engine that they use for a lot of their more recent games. And there is talking through this. I don't know if you want to play the audio. They actually talk through it.
One of those big creations that we're proud of.
All the tools share a common core. What you see is what you get.
It really feels like a tool that was built for artists.
So the philosophy is that we try to make all the iteration times and all the workflows as short as possible because we value our artists and our programmers' time.
If something is slow, we will work on it and make it better for you.
And it all goes back to that iteration time. How do we make that faster? The UI of Snowdrop, it's consistent across various different tools. So it allows you to go from creating a prop to scripting a level, and the environment feels the same. And we work really hard to make sure that it stays consistent so you feel comfortable and you spend less time clicking around in menus trying to guess where is this thing. And having designers here to help us with that makes it even better.
Developers are the users. What we create is just for them. How can we make them more efficient and eliminate unnecessary steps in their work?
We want them to be happy. We want them to work, not wait.
Having tools which allow developers to iterate quickly is key. Construction graphs is a good example. It allowed us to cut down the time it would take to prop a street, and it gave us more variation when building the world.
We try to make Snowdrop scalable and not over-engineer it. Snowdrop is being developed for the specific purpose of making a game. At Massive, we try to keep the game always playable. This is really important because it ensures that we can always test things. We provide all the pieces that you will need when building a game.
For example, the Snowdrop in-engine profiler gives the necessary performance and memory tracking tools that the programmers need to find hotspots in the code and to fix them. It runs
now we know we're secretly works for
Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
You can always open it up and see what is going on in your application and in your code.
One of the most exciting things we implemented for the engine for the Division was the destruction system. We'd add one node, adjust some settings, and you get the procedural destruction system taking care of most of the work for you. I think some of the coolest stuff with destruction we were able to do was like the planks splitting apart when they would get shot and just falling with the physics attached to them, or the tiles in the subway being able to shoot them and a chunk of the tile falling off. Like that all comes from having this procedural destruction system already there, and it looks really good.
Another example of tech that we
Which is
developed
available in
Snowdrop
Unreal,
to
by the way.
support the game is snow painting.
The snow painting allows the artist to paint in the level, and then our shaders will pick up on that and cover the ground with snow or water. And that combined with the screen space snow gives us the overall look.
The Snowdrop engine can be used both for a third-person shooter like The Division, as well as 2D animated games like South Park.
We think that the other teams at Ubisoft are interested in our engine because you can do many things with it. And due to its modularity and its philosophy, other teams find it good to use for very different purposes.
We would like to make sure that those teams are also comfortable working with it, that they're efficient, that it meets their needs regardless of what the project is.
Snowdrop development hasn't stopped with shipping The Division.
One of the exciting things is that Snowdrop is always evolving.
Do you think that Snowdrop is the best proprietary or closest proprietary engine to something like Unreal? I know obviously Bethesda's got their own, and Activision does, but this, just by looking at it, it looked very similar to Unreal.
It's the closest to Unreal. Yeah, as far as the features, it's a lot of things they're explaining. Now, this is in 2018. Unreal has done some of these things in that time. So at the time, in 2018, it was more advanced than Unreal. I'd have to see what they've done at this point, right? In 2020, I'd have to see what their engine has done differently. But Unreal in the past year to 2 years has put in that system where, you know, things will crumble and pieces will break off. Vertex painting, where, you know, he's painting on there the snow and the water and all that. And all that's available in Unreal Engine. And so if they were looking to get rid of that engine, the closest thing that they could find would be Unreal. That would probably be where they transition, because you could even see when they were coming up with particle effects, they're using a similar kind of a blueprint style system to build those. And that's a similar system that you use in Unreal to be able to build some of those effects. So, so I think it is the closest, but it's private. I mean, you can't just try using it. So that's something that I don't know if at some point they'll ever make it public available, if they always keep it private like that, or if at some point they'll be like, all right, we're going to switch to Unreal. If they feel like Unreal becomes a better deal, a better option, because they don't have to maintain it, and they could give suggestions and they can give code to Epic to improve it as they want to. They don't have to make the whole thing from scratch, because this is very difficult for them to turn around and constantly upgrade without having a full staff behind it. Yeah.
Which they do, so they can
and
obviously.
Most companies have been kind of walking away from this in-house thing because it's, you know, they wait 4 years between a game. These guys don't, but some studios will wait 4 years between a game, and then all of a sudden they're having to fix their engine to match the new technology that's out. You know, it's just a big cost dump for them.
We're about halfway through here, Mr. Brian. Do you have a game giveaway by any chance?
Yeah, so let me go ahead and we'll do this one for, the cost will be 60 ! Giveaway in chat. You have to be a follower, by the way. And I'm going to be giving away, let's see if it come here. I'm going to be giving away a copy of Yakuza Kiwami 2. It's a fighting game. It is actually an action story-rich RPG beat-em-up violent game. It's currently $29.99 on Steam, and it has very positive recent and overwhelmingly positive overall. And it came out in 2019, so in May of 2019. So not that old of a game, very good ratings. And so if you're interested in that, exclamation point giveaway, and we will give away a copy of this before the end of the show.
Yes, sir. You can join us live for that. All right, let's talk about Conan Exiles here for just a couple minutes. We've got two quick updates here. We've got hotfix 2.1.2, which came out on the 11th of last week. Couple things on here. On the crafting side, fixed an issue regarding the Garrison blacksmith benches missing crafting recipes. The Redeem Legion recipe was missing. We found it, no need to call the police. And then fixed a remaining recipe issue with the T4 Alchemist. That was all crafting fixes. Rhinos and giant bears would sometimes get frozen in a default pose and not attack back. This has now been fixed. That would have been a great thing to take advantage of. If they're frozen, you can farm them and kill them. Balance updates. The Frost Giant armor attribute has been rebalanced. Its base value now gives you 4 vitality, down from 16, which is way up there, and also provides a bonus of 5 strength. This can be further improved with specialized crafters in the future. Crafting an exceptional or flawless item journey step has been removed from the game and substituted with a craft and improved workstation item object that's been added. Fixed an issue in regards to the Frost Giant armor not giving bonus attributes. Fixed an issue where vines couldn't be harvested in the exiled lands. Fixed an issue regarding Warpaint's visibility disappearing when changing your race using the new vanity mirror that they added a couple weeks ago, which allows you to restylize your character throughout the game. The Rent a Server button should now open a link to the default external browser instead of the internal Steam browser. Fixed an issue with the favorite server filter not working as intended. That was all hotfix 2.1.2. And then another quick one here, 2.1.3, which came out on the exact same day. Fixed an issue regarding delving some armor pieces on the delving bench that did not give any scroll, weapons, or armor schematics. Fixed an issue where paddings were still needed for repairing items. Fixed an issue regarding delving Pride of Eris armor not providing Frost Giant armor recipe. Fixed an issue where the legendary armor patch kit was unavailable for crafting. Fixed an issue regarding Marksman's vest and Marksman's pants that did not provide statistic bonuses. And then on the AI side, they fixed an issue where recipes provided by the thralls were not available in the crafting benches if the feats were unlocked after the thrall was placed on the bench. Very specific issue with that. And then 2 more quick ones here. Fixed a visual issue for the weak aloe extract icon, and then fixed the dire bench model as it lacked collision and had stretched or misplaced textures. So that is all of the hot fixes. Very in-depth patches. You can tell a game is at a certain level of completeness when you have an update like fixed an issue where recipes provided by thralls were not available in the crafting benches if the feats were unlocked after the thralls were placed in the bench. Very, very specific. You know the game itself is pretty solid, and Conan Exiles is in fact very solid with their new expansion out just a couple weeks ago. So that is that's Conan Exiles, and that's what we've got from them.
Nice. Let's talk about Epic really quickly in UE4, because we have been talking about engines some. Epic has acquired another company called Hypersense, and this is a real-time facial animation company. And so my prediction was, I think that one of the next things that we're going to see put into Unreal Engine is going to be a lot of things relating around characters, character models, animating characters, creating characters. And this is right there. This is a part of the character animation that there have been plugins for, but it's not really been built into the engine. There's just various plugins that do it. One thing it seems like Epic is trying to do lately is to buy companies and integrate a lot of these things so where you have some form of it in the engine, whether it's water tech, animation, all these different aspects. So this is Hypersense. This will allow people to pretty much map in faces and things like that. And so you can have a camera, and then as you move your face in various ways, you can record those, and then it will record the animation. And I wouldn't be surprised at some point if they also build one, much like there's a new game that came out recently that's using this, but they're starting to do to where they're not animating the faces so much, but they are listening to the audio, figuring out how the mouth should form based on that audio, and then doing it automatically. And there's a recent game that came out that did that 100%, and it came out very well. And so this will be one where, it's got everything from tongue tracking, can tell if you actually stick your tongue out a little bit, facial expressions, eye tracking. You can have multiple faces in the scene and then assign them to various characters for animations. So, so this will be interesting to see this actually put in the engine. And this is one that I think a lot of people generally have skipped over the years, and made AAA studios would do it to where they'd actually would animate faces in cutscenes and things like that, or in talking. But with this kind of a tool, we'll see if people start putting it in all the games. So
very cool.
Yeah, Cyberpunk was one that PH points out. that was all. I think that's the one I was thinking about. It was 100% AI generated for all of the facial animations.
Gotcha. Well, that's cool. Glad to see that Epic is still on the prowl, as there's only so many of these companies available, Brian. Microsoft's buying things up, Epic's buying things up. Eventually they're going to run out of companies to buy, and they'll have to start buying each other, so that'll be rather interesting.
Yep.
Let's talk about XERA for a second here. We've got a very quick update from the folks over at XERA Survival. Hotfix 7.2.1. Couple new things here. They implemented a new 1911 animation. It will fix the sideways lean bug that was in the game. They fixed an issue with mouse notifications showing when the inventory was closed. That was a UI fix. Implemented a new system to make the recoil of weapons feel much more natural, which actually has a huge impact. On the map, they added the searchable military box to the airport runway, so they've added that in there. And then on the backpacks, they've increased the default backpack weight to 15 kilograms and then increased all backpack weight limits. So you'll be able to store more in them, and they now weigh a little bit more as well. So that's all we've got in this hotfix for XERA Survival 7.2.1.
All right. So there's been a breach. We talked about some other companies and breaches in the past, but Capcom has actually had a data breach that has stolen a bunch of gamers' data.
Oh.
So this one, they did an announcement. It says, we're currently unable to reply to inquiries and or fulfill requests for documents via this form following the network issues that began November 2nd, 2020. So they deeply regret it. And then they have a press release where they talk about unauthorized access. And they have, for instance, an example, stolen Capcom Steam sales report, to where it has all of their sales. They did disclose that on this information verified to be compromised, personal information, there's 9 items. So it got 5 items that were information of former employees. So names, signatures, addresses, passport information. It's not great. Also, they got HR information. They got sales reports, financial information, ones that they're not quite 100% sure how much of is yet. They said personal information of customers, maximum approximately 350,000 items. So Japan, North America were ones that were compromised. Their list of shareholders, former employees, personal information from human resources, and then confidential corporate information. So pretty big leak here. You don't see a ton of games, but they make the Street Fighter games, Resident Evil games, Ghosts and Goblins, Devil May Cry, Mega Man. So they're still putting games out.
What's up with the studios? We've had Ubisoft a couple weeks ago, maybe it was at the Bethesda, another big one, and then now Capcom. What's going on with all of these breaches from why all of a sudden are these studios under siege? We've seen like 3 or 4 in the past 2 months, which is not normal.
I'm going to give my conspiracy theory guess.
Okay.
Personally, I think that these are probably more likely along the lines of a government like China, probably doing this, because for them, this plays it. They own most of the video game industry, and if they can do anything to hurt the reputation, hurt the value of companies like these, then they can turn around and buy them if they lose enough credit. I think there's more to it than just this. Could be a random one, but I think a lot with the big ones that we've been seeing, I think they're more government related or much bigger than this.
Yeah,
but it could be just some group of people that managed to do it. But the consistency of it seems like it's very, very, very well organized.
Yeah, I would. There's got to be something behind this, because it's just really weird to have a couple of different large studios all under this. And in the case of Ubisoft, it was right. It was right after the new Watch Dogs came out. Like the game came out, and then there was a source code leak like 4 days later. So you've got.
So if you look into some of the things that China's been doing, they've been putting people in companies to be able to get this kind of thing. And if you can put a person on site in the company, this stuff is easy to get at that point. You're already in. You don't have to worry about vulnerabilities. You just have to somehow get elevated privileges or access to something you're not supposed to, or get somebody in a position where they have access to this, pull all the documents you can, leak them, and then, it's going to hurt their stock price or whatever the end goal is. I don't think these people are doing it to get credit card numbers. I don't think they're doing this to get anything other than either. PH says it's like a hacker. This one's Ragnar, a hacker group. So
but the group could be
they hacked Capcom and Ubisoft.
Inside.
But I think that personally, I think that they're backed by a bigger organization than just a hacker group.
Yeah,
because I think that there's much more organization to all this.
Your point,
personally, but that's just my conspiracy theory.
But your point's still valid. You could have a hacker group with somebody infiltrating the company. I mean, that's still valid. Yeah.
But I think that we've been seeing that with other organizations where China goes in and steals personal information that sometimes they use because they could be looking for tech for tech that they can use and sell internally to or use internally at China for their video game companies. I mean, they have no qualms about doing that. They've done it in plenty other industries in the past.
We've done the same thing, though, to be fair. I mean, we infected
the United States?
Yeah, we infected the entire world with a virus to try to destroy an Iranian centrifuge. I mean, that's very well documented. So, I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah.
So.
We'll see. I mean, it'd be interesting if this will ever get uncovered, but I have a feeling it probably will not be.
So. Speaking of large companies, EA, they are now facing yet another. This is different from the one we talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago. They are now facing yet another U.S.-based class action lawsuit over its Ultimate Team, which is its FIFA pack, over its Ultimate Team loot boxes. This time, it's focusing on the alleged use of the dynamic difficulty adjustment. This suit was filed in the U.S. District of Northern California. 3 individuals are accusing EA of using its patented dynamic difficulty adjustment technology in 3 of its EA Sports franchise, Madden, NFL, FIFA, and NHL, across all games ranging back to the 2017 versions. The plaintiffs say that EA used this technology, whose stated intention is to allow AI to adjust difficulty on the fly to keep players from becoming either too bored or too frustrated with the challenge level of a game, keeping them playing longer, to push players into purchasing more loot boxes in the form of player packs, saying that it effectively makes it even higher stat players not able to play as well as they should because the AI is giving. It's
not a skill-based game at that point.
Yeah,
it's the exact opposite of a skill-based game at that point.
Well, true, but to be fair, this is not a secret. I mean, they literally have a patent for this system. It's called the Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment System. This is the name of the patent. The Dynamic Difficulty Adjustment for Maximized Engagement in Digital Games, which is owned by EA. So this is not a secret. Yeah. The question is, are they going to win a class action lawsuit against EA over it? Probably not. But of course there's AI with loot boxes. It's not 100% random.
Yep.
Which actually makes the argument even more to the case that it is not gambling. Because a slot machine does not change its skill based on anything.
It's just incredibly difficult.
No, it's consistently the same. In this case, it is being adjusted for players. So I think the argument of gambling actually that makes this argument even worse. Same thing with poker or any other sort of physical gambling. The game does not get the dealer does not deal you worse cards if you're a better player. It is 100% or almost 100% luck. This would indicate it is not in fact luck, which means it would be, in my opinion, not in fact gambling. Because it's not really luck-based. It's skill/luck based, which makes a kind of a different conversation.
As long as, why don't they give you the ability to turn this off?
Well, because nobody would turn it off. That's how the system's built. It's their goal.
But I'm saying,
as they say in the name of the technology,
skill level. You can set it at difficult.
Yeah,
you can set it at easy. Not have it to be dynamic.
No, but you're missing it. The whole point is to maximize the engagement. So you keep the harder players playing longer by giving them slightly worse characters in their packs, and you give the crappy players slightly better characters so that they progress.
But that's the thing is they
goal.
shouldn't be putting them in the pack. They shouldn't be adjusting that in the packs. They should do the difficulty levels of the game.
Why not?
Because what you're not paying them to give you. They are supposed to put what, like in China, if they were going to sell this in China, they'd have to put the percentage chance of getting anything in one item. They wouldn't be able to do that with this system because that constantly changes based on your personal level.
Correct, but they're not claiming that.
But the thing is, when people are paying money, you shouldn't be making it more difficult for them to get something nice the better they are.
Well, you can make the argument that you shouldn't be, and I may agree with you, but I don't think there's anything illegal here. I mean, this lawsuit will figure it out, but I don't believe EA claimed.
But this is 100%
they
may not get them on the.
But it's not a secret.
They may not get they may not get them on the gambling on this one.
Yeah, but they hold them.
They'll probably come at them with some other way.
But they hold a patent for this.
Different way. But the thing is, I think they might come at them a different way than gambling on this one. I think that you may get a judge that says this is unfair and may
that's
say,
what they're
no,
claiming.
You can't do it. Yes. But I don't think that they're going to come at them with. I don't think they're going to come at them with a gambling aspect. I think they're going to come at them with people are paying money expecting even treatment, and they're not getting even treatment. I think that's where they'll probably get them.
Well, this class action lawsuit has got nothing to do with gambling. This class action lawsuit is explicitly for.
Because if it were gambling, I don't see anywhere where this system goes into that. Because this makes it easier for the lower level players, harder for the higher level players, and I think they'll just get them on the fact that you shouldn't have the right to determine how good of a chance this is. But you're right. This is very much ungambling because it's not random. They're picking, and they may, whether they may get them on the fact of whether or not they have been upfront enough with the clients telling them this. That's where they may get them.
EA.
They may have to put things of saying, as you get higher level, your chances get more difficult. If they state that when people are purchasing, then sure, do whatever they want.
In response to this, EA said, "We believe the claims are baseless and misrepresent our games. We will defend." That was the extent.
That doesn't sound. That sounds like a very generic.
Yeah, that sounds like
we're not doing this.
That sounds like we've got a bunch of corporate attorneys that will put these three guys in Northern California who are suing over Madden to rest. Hopefully, so we'll see what comes of it.
People need to stop playing the games if they don't like them. Quit playing them.
And that's kind of my argument with this whole thing is if you're breaking the law, that's fine. That we should be allowed to come after you. But I just have a really hard time with this, Brian. And maybe it's because I don't put myself in the situation. I just have a really, really hard time with this whole thing. So that is EA. The loot box, they seem to be the real, maybe they've just overextended, but they seem to be the one taking it on the chin for the entire loot box industry. They are not the only company that has these sort of...
But they're making EA, Ubisoft, like these kind of companies are the ones that are the big ones. If they can get one of these companies, they can get any of the companies.
Yeah, but EA is the one just taking it on the chin. I mean, literally all of these suits, almost the ones in the UK, the ones here, now two US class actions.
People see billions of dollars. When you see the billions of dollars they talked about in that recent report in just 3 months? Billions in 3 months?
That was
Who are you going to go for? You're going to go for the guys that are selling $1,000, $2,000 worth of loot boxes in their little indie game, or the guys that are selling billions in 3 months? I mean, they're going for the money.
Yeah, and I don't blame them for that at all. All right, let's take a look at some other survival news here, Brian. There's a wipe. There's also some news about an Xbox version of Last Oasis. So there's a quick little trailer that they've produced here. Let's take a quick look at that, and we will discuss right after this. After this.
Bloom.
always, terrible trailers from Last Oasis. But the news is that Last Oasis will be coming to the Xbox. Cool on this, it's going to be coming to the Xbox One, which is the older consoles. It's also going to be coming to the new generation, so the Series X and Series S in Q1 of 2021. On top of that, the game is also going to support crossplay from day one, which is not something that you typically see from indie games, especially ones that are this early in its life cycle. So that's very cool to see. And they're going to be having all of that stuff in there. There's still more details to be released on that, but that is the big announcement from them. On top of that, there's also Season 2, which is starting, which is going to include a wipe. So the Season 2 and wipe are happening this weekend. They're happening at 5 p.m. CET. I have no idea what time zone that is. On Sunday, November 22nd. So that'll be this Sunday. That is going to be the wipe, and that will be the start of Season 2. So that is what we've got from Last Oasis. Xbox version coming Q1 of next year. A wipe happening this Sunday. So if you are a Last Oasis person, make sure you get rid of all of your stuff. Use all your weapons, your gunpowders, go ham. You don't want to have a bunch of your good stuff wiped. So get on that before the wipe coming up this weekend. And I believe that is all from our folks over at Last Oasis.
Nice. So we'll talk a little bit about politics for a few minutes. How about that?
Sure. What you got?
So the Call of Duty here, they have released a non-binary gender inside of the new Cold War campaign.
Okay.
Because they were getting criticism for having only options of male and female. You could have male, female, and classified, but people said the classified was not enough. And so now they have male, female, classified, and non-binary. So that is something that you can now do. And I don't know, I didn't try it when I was playing it to see what all happens when you choose this. I'm not sure if you're given the same options and the person looks the same, because you have very male or female looking characters in the game. I'm wondering if they changed those at all, or if you just are those characters and you don't have to be a male or a female, because there is a character sheet that you fill out that pretty much looks like a piece of paper for your Central Intelligence Agency profile. I don't know if that is, I don't know if it goes beyond that. So people are more than welcome to try it out, but you can you can check that out for yourself.
Very important things, obviously.
And then at Bungie, they have announced here that they are casting a spotlight on the Black at Bungie Inclusion Club. And so this is their effort to uplift Black devs and Black Lives Matter. So they have special clubs in the company.
The first one I agree with, but the second one, I do not agree with.
We're gonna have a socialist and communist club. I mean, we could go there. It would be perfect.
Well, no, I just that we've talked about this with some of the stuff with Fortnite. The founders of the Black Lives Matter movement are devout anarchists and call for violence,
Marxists.
And all this. I mean, it's the concept is fine, but the organization is less than stellar and has a very poor reputation. So that is not great to hear. And as Falcon says, isn't it still racist to give somebody extra attention based on their skin color? I mean, that would be. But don't worry,
they're getting a pin and emblem that they can wear. Now, this is kind of the opposite of how it used to be in the.
Wait, they're giving their employees they're giving their Black employees a pin?
Yeah, but it's kind of the opposite of how they used to do it. They've gotten better. Rather than giving the people that you want to oppress the thing they have to wear, you give the people that are privileged the thing that they have to wear. I mean,
oh my God.
Little yellow star, that people very negative. Well, if you give a pin to the people you like, very positive, a pin. with a fist up in the air with the communist symbol. I mean, it's perfect. Don't you like it?
God.
So
They're giving them a pin.
yes, so they're helping to create
my
a pin, a
God.
Black Lives Matter pin and emblem.
If-
This is
Imagine how
where it's gone.
Imagine being a black developer at Bungie that does not agree with the teachings of this crazy progressive Marxist organization like Black Lives Matter, and probably being forced this garbage. Because I know, contrary to the belief, Brian, there are plenty of African American individuals that do not agree with these
that
movements.
are capable of actually achieving things on their own without having to have special treatment. Like they're special and they don't have the ability to do it themselves because of their skin color. You mean that?
But here's the thing: these people already are in an incredibly highly skilled field.
Mm-hmm. And they're making same pay rates as other people that are other colors. This is what I don't appreciate about it is that you're telling this person they're incapable of doing it on their own. Therefore, they need special help. I can promise you there's plenty of social justice young kids that need just as much help as anybody else. They come into the industry knowing nothing. They think they know everything, demanding things from their bosses, like all the things that we've had previous articles of them demanding they do, or not host this person or not have this person. It's just turned into a thing where I know that they've been doing this for many years, but for me, I would view it as a slap in the face that if you said you need special treatment because we don't think you can do it on your own, I would be like, what are you telling me? You're telling me I'm not capable? Now, if you're going to offer everybody the option to have assistance, to have a mentor, because that's what they do, they generally give them a mentor. Give everybody a mentor. All your new devs, give them mentors to set them up for success. Why are you picking and choosing certain races to give assistance to? That is racism. And I think it's pretty racist to say that you don't think they're capable of doing it on their own. Personally.
Yeah. Again, you wonder why do I cast doubt when I hear stories about some of the stuff that may or may not be going on at Ubisoft, and because then we've got this story from Bungie, which is shoving a Marxist political organization down the throats of their employees strictly based on their skin color. Not, I guarantee you there are employees at Bungie that are adamantly against the whole BLM movement. And now they're going to be put in a very uncomfortable situation by their coworkers if they don't jump on this. It's called Black at Bungie. I mean, that's literally the name of this thing. If they don't jump on board.
Hey, they used yellow. That was a good choice. Their primary color in this is yellow, and it matches perfectly. I'm sure the little emblem will be a nice yellow lightning bolt on a black fist.
Yeah,
what they're showing. So
I would imagine that's got to be incredibly frustrating for those individuals that are against this, that are going to be put in a very uncomfortable situation, a non-inclusive situation at their work. I will say,
and they are not allowed to actually express their opinion on the matter. If they express their opinion on the matter, they would be fired. I promise you. Unless you agree with it, if you have any, which is not inclusive. When you do not allow people to express their opinions, that is the definition of non-inclusivity. And that's what they do with these type of things. And that's what's so disgusting is if someone doesn't agree with this and they were to mention it, they would be let go from the company, which is the polar opposite of what they're claiming to do in this.
Yeah, very frustrating. And is this that big?
You've got California that tried to pass a law. Luckily, it got struck down in this recent election, trying to reverse equal rights, trying to make it so where you could make laws giving races more rights than other races. There's a reason we went through the equal rights movement to give everybody equal rights, and then you have California trying to reverse that. It doesn't. That should tell you something. And then you have a lot of people in California pushing Marxism and communism and socialism. And you're telling me that this doesn't seem odd to you? The people that put the stars on the Jews were socialists. The people that killed millions and millions, some of the people that have killed the most people in history have been communists and Marxists. And you think that this is a good idea? That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, rather frustrating. Of course, this is the way of this industry, as we've cataloged for months and years now on this program. And Brian, the inevitable thing here, which really sucks for us and for all of you listening, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, doesn't matter. What ends up happening at this stuff, Brian, is it gets pushed to such a tipping point where the company will end up imploding on itself because the employees are going to be afraid. It's just, it's going to create you
want to talk about unhealthy work environment? This is what it does. This is how you create them.
The end result of this is a company that ends up eating itself apart from the inside. And it's inevitable that will happen with this. You've seen it with Riot in the past, and Bungie is no exception to it. So hopefully they're able to hold it together.
But luckily Riot got purchased by China, so now they don't have to worry about it anymore.
And you did kind of see this with Spotify. The employees at Spotify tried to do this, and the CEO struck them down and said, no. You're a peon at this company. You don't get to decide who we're paying hundreds of millions of dollars. No. This is not. We've seen this mob rule does not work here.
We've even seen this with Twitch to a point. I mean, look at the stuff and the backlash that happened with Deer Lady on Twitch. The person that identified the person that identified as a deer. That was an example where they were very blatantly saying what they were going to do to the people that they didn't agree with because they had power. That's the kind of person that are doing these things in companies. That kind of person who's looking to have power over someone else. And we brought it up multiple times in this conversation. There was another group of people who wanted power over someone else, and they put stars on them. Yeah, that lady, wonderful looking deer. That is an example of a person that is an example of a person that is not looking for equal rights, for inclusivity. They want to exclude other people. And that is the difference. If a person wanted true equal, they would say, I want to be the same as you. I want you to have the same as me. That is not what you're getting in these movements.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Twitch for a minute. So there's been a lot of DMCA takedowns recently of channels because of music.
Yep.
Well, now there's been a lot of people getting DMC takes down for sound effects in games. So they're starting getting their videos taken down for clock chimes, police sirens, bird noises, wind sounds, and they have to pull these videos down. They can't keep them in their video library. Yes.
Okay. While this might sound outrageous, the reason this sounds outrageous is because Twitch hasn't been enforcing DMCA for the past 10 years. This stuff this should never have been allowed on the platform because since day one, it's been DMCA violations. And they've only recently started dealing with it because I'm sure that somebody's been on their ass about it. So now they're starting to enforce it, and people are like, what the hell's going on here?
All these things are copyrighted.
But when a developer develops a game,
in the
they license things. You do not get the license. You've never gotten the license. But the problem is Twitch has allowed this can to be kicked down the road for literally, at this point, a decade. And now all of a sudden, they're a large enough company where these DMCA threats are a real thing. And now they're having to enforce it, and people are losing their freaking minds. You don't own the licensing for music, even if it's in a video game. It doesn't matter. I don't care what you post on Twitter. You don't own the licensing. That's not how it works.
And this is the kind of the point is when you're then recording it and saving it online in this exact form. You may be talking a little bit, but with the sound effect, it's not enough to distort the sound effect. They don't have the possible long-term thing that may happen is them taking away VODs on Twitch.
Yes,
I don't,
that's what they're going to have to do.
I don't see a way for them to maintain having recordings of these things with music, sound effects. YouTube has a system for dealing with this, where they can give people money.
Mm-hmm.
They will probably have to, if they start DMCAing sound effects on YouTube, we'll see at that point how they deal with it.
They
I
do.
don't think Twitch is anywhere.
They do. If you
Well,
scroll,
but
if
you don't tend to see it.
You do, though. If you go to a YouTube video and scroll down, if there's a bunch of noises, you'll see a whole bunch of different attributes. You're correct. Yeah. They've got the system for it. And
they have it, but Twitch does not have the system.
No, they don't. And Twitch, PH brings up an interesting point. It says Twitch's whole existence is breaching a bunch of licensing. Yes, the whole concept. That's why people get on Nintendo's ass about it. They're like, oh, well, Nintendo doesn't allow content creators. It's because you don't have the license to do it. I agree that Twitch should have been enforcing this stuff since day one, but just because they never enforced it doesn't mean it has not been against the license, and frankly, doesn't mean it hasn't been illegal. I mean, just because you don't get caught stealing stuff from a store doesn't make it legal. Yeah. It's still illegal. And in this case, you're still breaching the DMCA. You're still breaching the licensing, whether Twitch enforces it or not. We break DMCA every single week. We play music in our pre-show.
Yep.
Twitch doesn't enforce it. They never have.
Yeah.
So I love watching these internet attorneys, every stupid jackass on Twitter talking about how this is, oh my God, this is crazy. No. This is how the digital, what is it? The Digital Millennium Copyright Act or whatever DMCA stands for. This is what it's for. This is how it has existed for years. Just because you haven't been in compliance doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
You have the legal right to, in your own house, to play these games. But the second that you start broadcasting, which is 100% what Twitch is, you're now it's like having your own TV station. I mean, we know some people that have done this where you can stream movies and things on here. But even the games weren't intended to be doing it in this way. And especially if you're making money on it and you have people that are using sound effects in their system, for their setups, for their UIs, in Twitch, using sound effects from games, all of that's illegal.
Yeah, well, and especially, some of these people, Brian, you see on Twitch, they'll be playing a video game and then they've got like a television show running in the upper corner. Could you imagine
what kind of a person?
I can't imagine somebody running an old NBC show up in the corner of them playing a video game. I mean, that would just be the craziest thing in the world. So ridiculous. I do find it funny. And I'll say this for the record. Brian, if you buy a DVD or something like that, or in the past you bought a DVD and had a bunch of people over to your house to watch it, you were technically in violation of the license. Same thing with a CD. Yeah. You're in violation of the terms. Now, there's never been an enforcement agency because the police are not going to come to your house for having they might now because you might have too many people. But in the past, they weren't going to come to your house because you were screening a movie for your friends. But it's always been against the license. But when it's online, it's archived, and some of these Twitch creators are making millions of dollars a year. That's why these companies are getting pissed about these DMCA things. Like or hate it, you've got content creators making millions of dollars off of something that they literally don't even have the license to be doing. So Twitch is fucked. And because they have not been enforcing this for literally a decade now. And now they've got all these content creators pissed and there's no solution.
No, this is Amazon. Amazon, if anything, Amazon could go through, work out a licensing agreement. They have music, they have access, they have Amazon Music, they have access to negotiate things with license creators to create a large list of if a channel subscribed to it, right? You can subscribe to having access to music that's player friendly on Twitch. That would be Amazon having to do this and make that connection happen. I know with Google, they were very apprehensive with Hangouts. I tried to get them to do a singing thing where you could sing and do karaoke on YouTube. They were very against that because of this licensing. I said, well, you guys could work out licensing with YouTube videos, but no. They didn't want to deal with it. It's too much of a pain.
And maybe the reason we're seeing this now is, as you said, because now that Amazon, not that Twitch wasn't a legitimate company, but Amazon is like, Twitch is a huge company. Amazon is on a whole nother solar system. Their compliance and that stuff, the reason they didn't pay any federal income tax last year, that their compliance and all that stuff is on a completely different level. And I'm sure now that Twitch is under their umbrella, they're trying to bring Twitch into compliance, and it's a disaster. Unmitigated disaster, because literally, as PH said, their entire platform is breaking licenses from start to finish.
Yep.
So that is El Twitcho. Let's see. We talked about that. Let's talk about 7 Days to Die. We've got a couple different things here, including some new artwork. This is a semi-truck, Brian, that we're looking at here. Or excuse me, this is the trailer function, a portion of a semi-truck. And you can see that in here. It's next to the Aldo's cabin, looking pretty good. Your traditional, pull behind system that you'd have for a trailer. And this is going to be part of their new industrial locations that are going to be coming to the Alpha 20 version of 7 Days to Die. So we've got that. And then also some updates and an update to the Alpha 19 experimental build. Is that what we have?
Yeah, so this is the A19.3. So on here, they've got a few little changes. They, first of all, better network package security, and then a fix for SI exploits. Before that, they've actually added a few things. Sorry, I got a cough, so I have a cough drop. Get rid of that thing. 19.3, they had better network. They added network layer encryption. They added a connection rate limit, and then more feedback for clients on why they are not allowed to connect, and then a message on the clients when they got disconnected because the server is shutting down. Changes they made, first of all, improved supply plane drawing, reduced static net package list, and runtime dynamically assigned IDs for more flexibility. Wandering horde zombies are not alert, so stealth attacks works on them. And then wandering horde 1 second delay between spawns. And then some fixes. The floating frames and blocks can't target, shoot, or repair through Molotov effects. Set player made door stability support to false to prevent AI exploitable building. Used admin whitelist ban on users with special characters in their names, breaks the server admin.xml. Console command water hidden by console command thirsty. Deco manager large FPS drops when saving to a slow drive. Deco manager written log always having a count of 0 and added duration. And then zombie old timer has no flame particles. So just a lot of little fixes.
Very cool. And that is all for 7 Days to Die. Let's take a look at Atlas real quick. The comeback kid, possibly the comeback kid.
Hopefully.
And they've got a pretty big update here, including their trade flow, which is one of the things they've been working on. Their new trade functionality is finally here. So they've got a little bit of a flow diagram here, and you can see how this works out. So this is how their trade flow works. Players build farms to collect various resources like wood, stone, or metal. Then that goes to the ship. They have a warehouse that farms automatically ship resources to. And then their next flow item in here is trade. The warehouse is connected to a market, which allows you to ship your resources between islands and trade with other players. Control is the next part on here. Access to trading is controlled by the seafort. Whoever controls the seafort can give access to trading in and through a server, so somebody really controls it. And then the final thing here is land. Trading also generates gold. Seaforts can tax this gold. You can use this gold to buy and maintain ships needed for war to gain land. So this is their trade flow and how they're working that out. They've got a bunch of other things in this update as well. So they've got all the trade routes and all those things connected in there. They did some crafting changes, including reducing the output of crafting gunpowder from 2 to 1, reduce the output of crafting blasting powder from 2 to 1, a bunch of market changes, a bunch of resource changes, weight. They've changed weight, reduced it on gold coins, gems, wood, sap, crystals, and metal. They've increased the rate on oil, fiber, flint, gunpowder, organic paste, fire gel, and blasting powder, and a couple of other things as well. But the big thing on here is, of course, that trading system and how they're doing that. So now every grid has 1 to 4 seaforts that act as control points, which give players access to trade routes and let players connect what they're producing to what others are established trade routes, and it's all automated. So you control it, you own it, and you get to build the trade route, and it's kind of building this in-game economy. Unfortunately, I think it's about 2 years too late, but hey,
we'll see.
Been wrong
They need to do it when there was all the hype. So,
but hey, coulda, shoulda, woulda. They're trying it now. They appear to be. They kind of fell off the wagon there for a little bit, where they really were doing no updates at all. They seem to be back on the saddle, and we'll see if that translates to anything as we come up upon the holiday season this year.
So let's talk a few minutes about probably your second favorite game that exists, No Man's Sky, and they've been putting out another. They call this one. I think Call of Duty.
I think No Man's Sky is definitely my first one.
Okay, well, yeah, I figured since Call of Duty just came out, you'd be hyped up about that.
Yeah, that's okay.
So No Man's Sky, top game. So on here, they're introducing their 3.10, and this is called Next Generation. Now, they have a video, if you want to play that really quickly, that shows some of the things, and then we can discuss a little bit about what's going on.
Little trailer there from No Man's Sky. They've got their foot on the pedal there, Brian, keeping these updates coming out. What's new on the Next Generation here?
All right, so in here, first of all, they're kind of preparing for the new Xbox and the new PS5, and on this, they do show some changes. First of all, they show Enhanced versus Ultra. And these improvements are available on the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and PC players. So currently, if you're running one of these, this will allow you to get the better graphics. And And you can, as you can see, the comparison of that, you can just see how much more foliage. That's the big thing that really attacks your frame rate, is having a lot of objects in the world. And you can see when you get to Ultra, which a PC is capable of doing, probably your old Xboxes, the base level Xbox and PlayStation would show the image on the left. So that's one big change in preparation for the faster and better consoles. The base construction, if you saw in that video, you saw just a little clip of them running past. That's a giant, pretty big base. There's a lot going on there, much bigger than the original when they first released the game, what you're having to deal with. This is like a actual real base, and it looks much better. Also, they have on here for new consoles, they're going to have a seamless transition for the saves, because I've been seeing online a lot of people going back and forth about, oh, don't try to load this game on your new console, because if you try to load the save game data, it'll mess it up. Now on here, they did make it so that PS4 players can migrate their data to PS5 with an in-game download, and then Xbox One will save automatically a save game that's compatible with the new Xboxes, so you don't have to worry about that. They now have also added 32 multiplayer. So on the newer hardware, console players can play with 32 players in one instance. So that's more than they've had previously. Crossplay, of course, will work with the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and S. So you can do that. It does do 4K at 60 frames per second. So if you're doing the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, you can get the 60 frames 4K. The Xbox Series S can get about 30 frames per second. Or I think I don't know, you could probably tweak your settings and maybe get a little bit better, but the top level consoles get it out of the box. And then that haptic feedback that you saw. So on the PlayStation 5, you get feedback on the triggers. So they added that. PlayStation 5 has 3D audio in it. So if you're using some sort of a headphone that's surround sound capable, you can use their new 3D technology for that. And then they show a few things off with the PlayStation virtual reality, which I still haven't gotten into yet. Then at the bottom, they have another kind of example of the Ultra versus Enhanced and some of the various graphics and things. So I think that's the main things.
Wow, it looks good. Yeah. Greenman says it looks...
And that's the downside. That's the downside of consoles is generally you're losing a lot of those. And that's why, PC always seems to look more full. For a while, these new Xboxes will maintain close to PC. And then 5 years down the line, once PCs get even more ridiculous, then you'll start saying, oh, hey, they can't quite do everything a PC can. So we'll see.
Greenman says it looks really good. I tend to agree.
Yep.
Maybe one of these days.
Now we can do 32 players. We could get everybody in there and build an mega base.
More. Have at it.
Cross console, cross platform.
Have at it. It's all you.
All right, keep trying.
Let's see. We're running a little long. Let's wrap up. Let's do Arc and then, or let's do Rust and then Arc, if that works for you. So we've got a Rust update here. From Shadowfrax, some stuff about Twitch drop, and a couple of other things. We'll watch that, and we'll discuss right after this.
Greetings, survivors and friends. Shadowfrax here with the biggest news from the game, where dull moments are punishable by excitement. And the biggest news this week mostly has to do with my face, which, apart from being just too handsome to hit with a rock, can now be accessorized in ways that would make Mr. Potato Head jealous. Yes, indeed, I don't care what you say, the team do listen when an important bug is highlighted, and here's the proof, because now, at least on the staging branch, we can finally wear moustaches and beards with eyewear, as nature intended. This is all thanks to a new lower face slot that certain things like beards, stashes, and bandanas will occupy, and this means more combinations are now available. Although not everything works, of course. Just experiment. Actually, I take that back. Thanks, Face Punch. Face Punch. The other big news this week, although arguably not as exciting, is that Face Punch have for the first time enabled Twitch drops for 3 items, which will be available for you to collect by watching Rust streamers for the requisite amount of time between now and the 19th of November. The items are, in order, purple glasses in exchange for an hour of your life, purple undercrackers for 3 hours, and for the meagre sacrifice of 6 hours or a quarter of a day, you can unlock a headset, which does actually have some protection value as you can see here and is craftable for just 10 cloth. Wow. The glasses are more expensive at 30 francs and offer 0 protection, although I guess these values could still be subject to change. All the details of how you can get these drops are available on the latest blog, and I'll put the link in the description for you so you can have a read instead of asking me in the comments. I might even have to stream Rust myself at this point. Oh, by the way, yes, I do have a Twitch, although that's mostly stress related. In other news, it wouldn't be proper not to mention all the quality of life improvements that have been working their way onto staging this week. First of all, you can now use the delete and backspace keys when in the code lock UI. Very handy. There should be better placement on slopes for the small refinery, and deployment is now allowed on the repair bench, so this is possible. Lovely. Talking of deployment, you can no longer stick a water purifier in the cursed cauldron. Shame. Does that look nice? There'll be even more phone booths now, such as at the sperm kets and gas stations. Support is being added to allow for promoting players to Team Leader from inside the Rust Plus app. And for cinematographers, there's now an option to dynamically change the depth of field to match a targeted entity. For this, you'll need to change DOF_mode to 2 in the console, although be aware that it stops working when you get within a certain distance of the targeted entity, which is a shame. Most excitingly, however, we now have new supply drop art. As far as I know, the fillings won't be changing, but instead of the old airdrops that have remained pretty much unchanged since Legacy days, complete with suspicious immersion-breaking gaps, we now have this snazzy new creation which fits in much better with everything else, and that still does have the odd immersion-breaking gap, but only if you look at it from the wrong angle. In works in progress, the Happis rescue attempt continues, and if you'd like to see the latest pics from that, then I showed them on last week's vid. Haven't got any more for you yet, sadly. Same goes for the HDRP backport work, and again, please check last week's vid for those pics. There's still plenty of work going on to add functionality to the work cart, which we know will be a means to get around the island on some sort of rail system, a crane, which I believe will be something to do with recycling cars, but that is still a bit hazy around the edges as far as details are concerned. And lastly, the drone has reared its head again in the commits, along with some basic AI. You may remember me talking about these on a number of occasions before, and the model itself has been hovering around in the game files for a long old time, but could we finally see it scoot over yonder hill and start to monitor us for suspicious activity? Will it be something that players can somehow get their greasy hands on to spy on their neighbours with? Time will tell, but please let me know in the comments what you think and what you'd use one for if you could. Please sub if you're not, and leave a like if you'd be so kind. As I say, I have a Twitch, link is below. Come and follow me there. Also, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group to stay up to date with my content. Plus, you can support me by either grabbing a Subject to Change shirt on my store or becoming a patron like these amazing chaps on the right. I shall catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
All right, cheerio to Mr. Shadowfrax, giving us an update as to all of the ongoings. Twitch drops, which we've seen in a lot of other games now taking place in Rust. You can find all the details for that in their dev blog, on their website, which you can find on our website, infectionpodcast.com. All right, let's wrap it up here with Arc Brown. We've got a couple quick updates, starting off with 3.16.31, fixed a bug which caused players to be unable to connect or travel between servers. Then 3.16.40 eliminated server calculation related to replacing structures, no cost to server, and then optimized server calculation for demolishing structures. That was 3.16.40. And then 3.17.1 fixed a case where transfers could fail and fixed multiple server-side crashes. So literally 3 patches, all having to do with updates to servers crashing and trying to transfer between servers and objects and all that fun stuff. So that is Arc.
Very nice. All right. Are we ready to roll into tip of the week?
Excuse me? Tip of the week.
Sorry,
you don't want to do current players?
We can if you're ready. I'll go wherever. If you're last week you didn't do it, so I didn't want to pressure you.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Let's start it off here with.
Let's start it off here with Arc.
43,938 people currently playing that. 24-hour peak, 67,563 with a 7-day peak of 88,359. Moving on over to Rust, 42,192 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 65,347 with a 7-day peak of 83,905. Looking over at 7 Days to Die, currently playing 19,156. The 24-hour peak, look at that, 24,059 with a 7-day peak of 32,152. Looking at Conan Exiles, currently playing 7,537. The 24-hour peak, 10,746. 13,714 is your 7-day peak. Checking out Last Oasis, their big update this week, up to 467 people currently playing that. The 24-hour peak, 665 with a 7-day peak of 911. Wrapping us up here with Atlas, little boost in the player count, nothing crazy. 2,386 people currently playing. The 24-hour peak, 3,302 with a 7-day peak of 4,159. And that brings us current with current players and all of the people that are currently playing that. Atlas is up a little bit, couple hundred.
But yeah, they're going to have to do a lot to bring people in.
We've been wrong in the past, so maybe we're wrong about this too.
We'll see. Yes,
sir, we will.
Now, I have a preface to my tip of the week. There is, in 2 days on the Epic Game Store, they're going to be giving away Elite Dangerous. So if you do not own Elite Dangerous, go onto the Epic Game Store and get a copy of it. And that will include the Horizons, because Horizon is now what was the DLC before, is now included in the base of Elite Dangerous. So currently, if you get it tomorrow or get it in 2 days, which will be what, the 19th? Are we at the 19th? You'll have everything that's out at this moment, and then they're going to be releasing a new expansion here soon. So keep that in mind. So typically, within the weeks where I go through and either give a general gaming tip, or for this one, I'm going to be doing it on Elite Dangerous, because hopefully some people will pick up that if they don't own it already, and this will help them out. So this is tip of the week. All right, so with your free copy of Elite Dangerous that you hopefully have just gotten, if you're listening to this in a couple days, I thought it'd be a good idea to give you a little bit of some tips for new players. The first ship that you're going to get is called the Sidewinder, and that is not the best ship. If you ever die and you can't afford to pay the insurance or pay the repair costs for the ship that you had, you'll be given a Sidewinder to start with. What you'll need to do is you need to start earning money, because you'll get a better ship, and this will allow you to make money even faster, whether it's through cargo. You can haul a bunch of items from one place to the other. Perhaps you'll get one that is for PvP or for various missions where you're fighting other ships. You really can tailor which ship you get. Or if you're even mining, you can have a ship that's focused on mining. So you'll use all these, but you'll have to earn money first to be able to pick one ship and start going that direction. One thing that you can do is you can go through missions. Missions allow you to earn reputation, rank with the various factions they have in there. Another thing you can do is bounty hunting. You can do bounty hunting in the resource extraction zones. Another one, to actually get to the bounty hunting, what you can do is you go to the left side of the HUD, and then there's a navigation panel. In there, you look for resource extraction zone high for the types. If you get those will give you the most money. However, you need to make sure you're capable of them, because that's a good way to die as well. So you'll probably start out doing a little bit lower, working your way up to a higher difficulty, and then that's when you really start getting money. I know Green Man and I, we were doing a lot of different quests over and over again to get the very large shipping freighters. And now, that allowed us to get money very quickly to where it could pretty much buy any of the ships. But you have to start small, because you can't jump very far, and you don't have the ability to carry very much, and you can't defend yourself. So as you upgrade your ships, ups all of those stats, and you can go around without running out of gas, getting blown up by random things trying to come and kill you. It makes life a lot easier. Once you leave the starter zone as a beginner, you need to remember you risk losing your ship at that point. Now, if you're still going to stay in the Sidewinder, you're not really risking anything because that's the ship you get no matter what. But you will need to save, and I've talked about this before, save money. That way you can repair your ship, and if you get a nice ship, you don't lose it and start up the Sidewinder and have to earn all the original money up to get a ship again. So that is tip of the week.
Alrighty, thank you very much, Brian. Appreciate that. Do we have a winner for our game giveaway?
Yes, so let's go ahead and Just for Gaming. Congratulations, Just for Gaming. I will send you a link, and you can go ahead and redeem your copy of Yakuza. Oh, how's it go? Yakuza Kiwami 2.
I believe that
pronounce it.
I believe that's a twofer. That's a back-to-back win for Just for Gaming. So I'll have to keep him on the list. I believe 2's our limit for that. So
so if he wins next week, then we'll make sure.
Well, I know this individual, and he might be doing some shady things on the back end here to rig these elections. Rig these giveaways for himself. So I'll have to send the authorities in to check in on that.
I can weight it to where he has less chance. How about that?
No, don't do that. Not at all.
No. We don't want to pull a Ubisoft.
An EA?
Or is that EA? No, that's EA. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we don't want to pull an EA.
Okay.
So, by the way, we are live here for people that are listening. I've seen a little bit of uptick on the YouTube version of the show. We do the show live every Tuesday night. We've done so for the last going on 6 years. It'll be in January. 6 years. Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We do about 2 hours of video game news. We shoot the breeze with the chat, and then we have a pre and post show. So hopefully you can make us part of your schedule. Coming up to holidays, Christmas and Thanksgiving are both on the later half of the week. So I don't think we'll have any delays for that. As of now, if we come up with any, we'll let you know. But as of now, with Thanksgiving and Christmas both being on Thursdays, I don't think we've got anything crazy with that. So with that said, Mr. Brian, as always, it was a pleasure. And I'm glad to see you. The show sounded good, looked good, everything was good.
Everything's mostly working.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, if you want to find me, give me at Brian Aldridge on Parler, or if you want to go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Of course, that's with an I. Also, we have our website, infectionpodcast.com. Go to the right-hand side of that and join our server on Discord. In there, you can chat with people. You can also submit news to the news channel. We have a workout channel in there. We have a politics channel. Just a bunch of discussion going on. And if you want access to if you're a person who's already in there and you want access to any of those specialty channels, just let one of us know. Also, we have our Steam group. If you want to get a notification before the live show starts, you can do that by joining the Steam group. Before we go live, I always send out a little notification. And if you have Steam open, it'll pop up and remind you can join us in the live Twitch stream. For the video forms, whether it's after the fact or live, you can watch that through Twitch, through YouTube, through BitChute, or DLive. If you want to listen to it, you can do that through the podcast, but that's only after the fact. So after we've recorded the show and posted it, you can go to one of our podcast links, and those are the lower right-hand side. There's mobile apps, web-based apps, all kinds of things you can do through that, and you go ahead and select what works best for you. If you want to listen to that pre and post show that Nick mentioned, you can do that through our podcast extras. And thank you to Judd for taking care of that for us. And then show notes. If you're going to be listening after the fact or watching, make sure you follow along with the show notes. You can go check out some of the articles we're looking at. You can watch videos and just see everything that we're referencing throughout the show. If you want to support us financially in preparation, hopefully for the next packs that we're saving up for, you can do that through the support tab of the website, or amazon.infectionpodcast.com, or humble.infectionpodcast.com. And then the Prime Gaming subs that you heard through here as well. Those are the primary way that we save up funds throughout the year, and really appreciate the people that do that religiously.
Yes, sir, including our friend Green Man Cartoon, who's currently our sub leader on Twitch. He's been subscribed for like 30 plus months at this point. Absolutely crazy. Thank you very much. 34 months. We very much appreciate that. More than I think than you can possibly imagine. And with his note, suck it turkeys. Yes, there will be plenty of turkeys sucking it next week as they sit in ovens and smokers and deep fryers all across the United States. So plenty of time for that. Alrighty, Brian. Thank you as always. We'll see you next Tuesday, and yeah, then it'll be Thanksgiving, a couple weeks. Then it'll be Christmas, and then lo and behold, we'll be on to 2021.
Very nice.
Very nice. All right, folks. That's going to do it for another episode of Against the Norm. Oh, no.
Rough one.
No. I had a reason. I was going to say, you should check out the new video version of my show, Against the Norm, at atnshow.com. There's now a full video version. It's on BitChute and YouTube. This is, of course, Infection Podcast. So.
Yes, we got this.
Now I just need to get out of here because I made an ass of myself. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Parler, on Twitter, or everywhere else at Nicholas M. Craig. If you missed any portion of the show, show notes, videos, links, images, all that fun stuff's on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.